Hello, my name is Nicholas McInnes, and today I will be teaching you about toluene disocyanate, its exposure limits, and also precautions needed to be used while using this chemical. So what exactly is toluene disocyanate? Toluene disocyanate, often referred as TDI, is a yellowish dark liquid substance with a sweet or fruit smell. TDI, when altered or changed, can be made into coats, foams, and wires. TDI can also be very deadly or hazardous if not handled correctly. Many companies such as BASF, Rubicon, and Dow are some of the major producers of TDI throughout the United States today. TDI is one of the most important wide-use isocyanates used today. One of the biggest safety concerns using TDI is the equipment used during processing and handling. If the right equipment is not used, many safety concerns are at stake. These equipment can include such as packaging equipment, insulation materials, upholstery, and even shoes. All this equipment must be up to date and readily available for use. Exposure of TDI is very important. One of the main exposures of TDI is inhalation. Inhalation of TDI usually occurs while mixing the chemical components or burning. Another main exposure is skin contact, as TDI handling can be difficult from one container to another. Equipment for the body along with ventilation systems must be implemented to reduce exposure. Indoor air quality, or IAQ programs will be implemented to significantly reduce exposure. Side effects of TDI can include nausea, asthma, chemical bronchitis, skin irritation, burning, itching eyes, sore throat, short breaths. Many of these side effects have to do with indoor air control and air quality. It is very important to make sure you have the correct equipment along with the process and programs implemented to ensure that the side effects do not get too serious. Before getting into the specific TDI exposure limits, it is first important to learn why exposure limits are made and why they are important. The picture to the left says it best: safety first. Environmental agencies implemented exposure limits to ensure the safety of all workers. Many scientific experiments and research has been done to test specific chemical exposure over a certain period of time on an individual. Now, each chemical is different. Therefore, that is why different exposure limits are made and created. The major environmental study groups consist of the American Conference of Governmental Industrial Hygienists, which tests for a threshold limit value, National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, which tests for recommended exposure limit, and Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which tests for threshold limit value. Here are the exposure limits of TDI. First, OSHA's permissible exposure limit, or PEL, is 0.005 parts per million. OSHA's short-term exposure limit, or STEL, is 0.002 parts per million. NEOSH recommended exposure limit, REL, is 0.005 parts per million. NEOSH time-weighted average, TWA, is 0.002. ACGIH threshold limit value is 0.005 parts per million. ACGIH time-weighted average is 0.002 parts per million. Now, while these look like they are the same numbers, it is important to understand that each are important to follow. Many tests and many research has been conducted to ensure that these numbers are the right numbers to keep the workers safe. Now, each of these are also tested at different hours along with different people as well. However, the overall conclusion is that you need to follow these standards and these regulations to ensure the safety of your workers, and so they are not. So now, knowing the TDI exposure, what can you do? What is there to do? There is always something to be done and always something to get better at. First and foremost, indoor air quality programs must be implemented. To the left here, you can see a program. You can organize, communicate, assess, plan, act, evaluate. It's important to follow all these procedures. All these procedures lead to safety, and safety is the number one priority in the workplace, not only for the company, but for the workers. Next, you could always add ventilation systems. When testing chemicals, it is always important to have ventilation systems, rather that being to the pitcher all the way to the right, being an air pump, or just having ventilation fans in general. Next, you could always have Draeger pumps or equipment to regularly test for TDI limits or chemicals in general. As you see in the picture above, you can see a Draeger pump. Draeger pumps are used to test TDI limits and air limits. While it is hard equipment to use, it is very, very important to use to test these limits. Next, you could always use safety glasses. Safety glasses significantly reduce exposure to the eyes and to the skin as well. Next, you can always use safety masks. Safety masks can prevent some air particles breathing. Finally, much like ventilation systems, ventilation fans can significantly reduce the air quality in a facility. Furthermore, that concludes our presentation on TDI and its exposure limits. Thank you.